And what's up, guys? Welcome back to another monthly 4K movie roundup with Luke from Kaleidescape. What's up, Luke?
What's up, Shane? Good to see you, my friend. I apologize. I miscommunicated the time zone I was in, so I am only 3 hours late today.
Luke, every time you talk about time with me, just put it ahead 3 hours, okay?
I will every time. I'll try and get you on. I'll try. You know what? It's just you've got that cool West Coast vibe, buddy. That's what it is. I've got you projected 3 hours into the future.
Well, guys, I apologize. I know we were supposed to come on 3 hours ago, but hey, better late than never. But we're gonna go through our top 4K movies that came out for last month, which was August. What month are we in right
August.
now?
It was
August. Yeah, that's right. August.
a very strong month for releases. August was. This was the kind of capstone to the summer for a lot of the theatricals that they had coming out. I think we're not expecting a huge dump of stuff that's going to be. There's going to be some interesting movies here that are in September, but I think some of
Yep.
the big titles that dropped, they dropped right at the end, so we might be waiting until October or later for some of those to start to drop in.
Well, let's get into. Let me click on the new movie section here. The new movie that I was most excited for was Twisters. So this is a pretty big file size here. We're looking at 71.9 gigs for the Dolby Vision version, and then 68 gigs. Sorry, not my glasses. 69.8 gigs for the HDR10 version, and this is only $25. That's a steal for this movie. $25,
I
4K,
agree,
Dolby
100%.
Atmos. Yeah. Um, the only issue that I had with this movie was that I kind of noticed it when I was doing the review, but I really didn't think about it too much because I had just calibrated my system, so it was already kind of cranked really loud. Was that the volume on this is kind of noticeably lower than pretty much anything else on this list, especially coming from the original Twisters. Like I had to bump it up a few dB louder, and I think a few people have mentioned that as well. I really didn't think about it when I did the review until I went back again. I was like, oh yeah, it is about like 6 dB lower. Other than that, I had a good time with this movie. I know people that were watching it were like, it's not as good as the first one, blah 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 blah. Is it a remake or is it a sequel? Is it a remake? It's kind of both, sort of. I don't know. I think it's in the same world. I'm not sure. But I had a good time with this movie. I thought the lead characters are great. Glenn Powell, I thought he was good. I liked the girl, Daisy something or another. I thought they were both good characters. I had a really fun time. I mean, it picked up all the exciting tornado twister scenes were just as good, if not better, than the first movie. Great audio too. The bass was rocking in my house. Great movement. I mean, just overall, I mean, a solid movie. I think, as far as like
I
enjoyment.
100%. This was a an amusement park ride of a feature film, and that's what it was supposed to be. And I thought it was an absolute delight. I think narratively, I think this is the same treatment that we got when they did the reset. I think that's the sort of frame they have on the Jurassic franchise,
Mm,
where they came out later on, and it's still in the same world. But they've introduced a whole new set of characters. I of course have a huge place in my heart for Twister, the original, because I'm from Cleveland, Shane. You'll hear me say that
mhm.
every time we get together. And as somebody from the Midwest, the terror of a tornado and what it actually sounds like, not very well captured before Twister came out. They understood that train whistle of terror that came through, and they made an incredible audio mix that was out there
Yeah.
that made everything really beautiful. I yeah, I liked the mix that was here on Twisters. I loved the story. Daisy Edgar Jones, who was wonderful in Normal People. Glenn Powell, who's becoming a legitimate movie star, and Anthony Ramos, who we're only going to see, I think, bigger and more beautiful things from. Really well cast, really well executed, and I think they sold it exactly well to get people to come out and see it. And it's
Yeah.
absolutely one to add to your shelf, because when you can't figure out what you want to watch because you've gotten into the middle of Oscar seasons and you don't want to watch something sad, this is going to be an easy re-return. This is the
Yeah.
kind of movie you're going to put on a Saturday night. You're going to eat all your popcorn. You are
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
think this was a wonderful time to be out and at the theaters. I thought some of the concepts were, as they often get in the reset movies, they have to take everything up a notch, and they
Yeah.
went to the truly ludicrous tornado manifestations in this film. Even
Yeah.
though,
Yeah.
hey, I don't know, the world is changing. Maybe these things are going to become more quotidian for everybody. But I laughed several times as I watched the things come through. Nice blacks, not too grainy for me. I thought it was a beautiful presentation.
Yeah. I was watching. I was like, so you're drilling into the ground by like 2 feet, yet these twisters can blow away big, huge concrete buildings. Okay, I
Yeah,
believe it. I
yeah.
was like, I believe it.
I,
But yeah, great movie, man. I had a real fun time with it. I've watched it many times since. I mean, I still watch the original Twisters ever since it came out on Kaleidescape. I've watched it so many times still. One of the, just like you said, man, a fun movie that's still great home theater demo. Like if you just want to test out your speakers, just make sure everything's moving correctly.
yes.
Any one of these movies will fit that bill for sure, man.
Yeah, temperamentally it's different. I mean, the original movie is very earthy. I mean, you had two very Helen Hunt and Bill are two super down to earth leads, and this had
Yeah,
two people that are more teetering on movie stars playing more extreme characters.
yeah,
So I mean, I think there's something a little bit less familiar about it as people come into the film,
yeah,
but really an engaging story. I think that they got that came out.
yeah, yeah, for sure. This one here, I didn't see this at home, not yet at least, but I think it's worth mentioning because it's pretty popular. Is Longlegs. This one comes in at, let me blow up the window right quick. So this one comes in at 52 and a half gigs for HDR10 and then 54 for the SDR version, 4K SDR version. I saw this at the theaters, and honestly, we didn't talk. No, this came out just recently, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, I went into it because my wife wanted to go see it because there's a lot of like chatter about it. I was like, oh, I was like, how do you know about this movie? She's like, oh, they're talking about it on TikTok. I was like, okay, cool. I went into it thinking like there's gonna be about. I thought this was like that Steven Spielberg movie about the arachnophobia. I thought this
Yeah.
was about spiders.
Oh no.
I legit thought it was about spiders.
Yeah, you were not coming prepared to the table for this particular title.
So I was like, mate, is this like Seven? I was like, this is like a murder mystery type of thing. Yeah, I mean, it's not about spiders, first of all, guys. So don't get tricked into thinking Longlegs is spiders. I thought it was an okay movie. I wasn't like, after starting watching it, I was like, oh, so maybe this will be just as good as like Seven. Maybe I shouldn't have put it that high up on the pedestal, but it fell a little bit short for me. I still enjoyed it. Nick Cage is definitely more creepier, but he's still kind of Nick Cage in this.
Yeah,
If
he's
that makes
always Nick
sense.
Cage. He's always
Yeah.
Nick Cage. That is what frustrates and delights about him.
Yeah.
I have a couple of things to say about this one for any of the folks that are Kaleidescape folks out there. We're really excited. This is a new studio, a studio we just signed. So Decal Releasing, who is the parent for that does a lot of releasing for stuff that's coming out from Neon and from Bleecker Street.
Hmm.
There are some folks that we're getting some more material from there. I don't have a title list for everybody, but we have more stuff that's coming from them. This was just coming in as we were closing the deal, so their ops team was wonderful. Shout out to the entire team over there. And they helped us so we could get this movie up right when it got into release. And we'll have another one coming in the next week or so, which hasn't been announced yet, so I can't declare the date. But several more titles that are going to start to drop, which we're excited to get from them. I appreciate your frustration at it not climbing to the peaks of the greatest thrillers of all time. That's the hard thing. I think that there was so much hype around this movie. I think people that came in cold had a really powerful experience of it. It uses a lot of great tropes. Maika Monroe, who was incredible in It Follows, is back sort of as the lead, as the sort of Jodie Foster in Silence of the Lambs character, and Nick Cage just Man, that guy just sells everything. He puts it all out there. This is a serial killer occult murder mystery as it's played in. Very creepy, very affecting. I think some people it came around the corner on them, and it left them a little bit cold as they were coming through in a scary way, like it shook them, which is why I think
Yep.
it got a lot of press and attention. Very well kind of composed, a lot of big horror movie themes that I think are out there right now in the culture for horror films. You
Hmm.
see a lot of fans of horror that are commenting on that as it's there, but packaged, I think, really incredibly well. So it's a big creepy film. I don't recommend it to almost all the people that I work with because most of them hate horror movies.
Yeah.
But the horror fans do like to get plugged into this one.
We've been getting some really good horror movies out this year. I mean, I think Late Night with the Devil, right? Did that come out this month?
Late Night with the Devil. That was from the good folks at Shudder. Had a beautiful. That's a very fun throwback film that we got that came out on a platform a little while ago.
Yeah, here you go. So this one, I totally forgot about this one. Now that you mention it, though. So this is a 4K SDR. This is a 46 gig. I watched this. I want to say like two weeks ago.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of horror stuff. Really, just really hitting it this year. Um, this was a good watch too. I mean, nothing like it's not Atmos or anything like that. If you just want to watch a good horror movie, that still looks good. 4K SDR. It looked fantastic. It's a good creepy type of movie. They're using that kind of live TV aspect to it. And yeah, what'd you think?
I love this movie. I think it's one of those films that's just there's a handful of horror movies that are coming. There's so much horror that's coming out right now. Not all of it's good. This is one of those I think that stands out. It's really well written and crafted,
Hmm.
so it gets you very engaged in that story as it comes out, and I felt very plugged in. Some funny bits. Longlegs, almost
Yeah,
no humor bits, which is unusual for today. I think
yeah,
2 episodes ago we talked about Abigail, huge humor bits. Like
yep,
there's a horror movie burgeoning on just an action comedy. Um, uh, this one peppered with really fun comedic references, but then still it will make you jump and spill your popcorn, which is what the horror movies are supposed to do.
yeah. Good price too. $30. And that the main character David Mostelchin,
Yeah,
who's usually like a bit player in a lot of movies. He was in
yeah.
the Dark Knight and wasn't he in Suicide Squad?
Was he in
He was
Suicide
Weasel, I
Squad?
think.
Oh,
I think he was
yeah,
Weasel.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is like the first movie I've seen him like lead. So that's pretty cool that he's getting a somewhat big movie to show off his skills.
Well, and even if he just like I think there's a lot of people that show even if you just stay in horror, you can build an incredible and compelling career out of that field. I'm glad that Nicolas Cage does other things, but if he was just
Yeah.
doing Mandy and Longlegs, and he was an incredibly creepy man professionally, I would still find his movies appointment viewing.
The other one, I guess, horror esque is Maxine.
Oh yeah, what did you think of this?
Well, hold on, 59 gigs for the Dolby Vision and the
Sure.
58 for the HDR10. Maxine. I think what is this is the third one in the trilogy. First one was X, and then
X,
Pearl, and then
Pearl, and then
Maxine.
Maxine. Yep.
Yeah. I liked X. I thought that was an interesting movie. I really didn't like Pearl at all. I loved the visuals of Pearl, the way it was shot, the colors and everything. Like
And
cinematography looked awesome.
the performance from Mia Goth. I mean, one of the great, spectacular, unhinged performances. That's like ranging in the Cage territory. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, well, you're a bigger fan than I was. I'm assuming you probably like Maxine too.
I did it. I liked Maxine. I really I thought it was a I thought it was a great conclusion. It's an homage to a lot of movies that I was watching when I shouldn't have been watching them.
Hmm.
This is all late 70s, 80s slasher film tropes that I think are kind of beautifully put out into the world. I think she's incredible in all three movies, playing different colors and characters, and it's really interesting to watch sort of the different like on a meta level, the cast that came to play in these three movies, so
Mhm.
interesting. So it was interesting to see Brittany Snow in the first film,
Yeah.
and Mescudi with Kid Cudi, and really interesting to see, like Elizabeth Debicki and Michelle Monaghan in this film. There's some people that I think are having fun playing in this world. I think Ty wrote some really interesting stories that are, I think, generally pretty appealing to people. Um, yeah, it's as things are always. I think I was hoping for a different twist as it came in the end. All these movies are hinge on a big twist, and this one I was like, oh yeah, okay, instead of like, oh my god, okay. But I did enjoy it. I did very much enjoy it.
Okay. Well, one of us enjoyed it. I thought it was
Yeah,
okay. The testy crushing scene was pretty brutal.
brutal, brutal. Also,
Yeah.
it's in a set that they offer now, so you can buy all three of the movies if you don't own them, for
Oh,
one
really?
special price. Oh yeah, yeah. Save your pennies as you're coming in.
Yeah. For the X trilogy,
That's right.
un unforeseen trilogy, X
That's
trilogy.
right.
So next one we have up here is a little more family friendly here. This is Despicable Me 4. This comes in at 52 gigs Dolby Vision and then 50 gigs for the HDR10 version. This is a great looking movie. I will say that.
Beautiful.
Really great for the displays, projector or television sets for your OLEDs. And I had a good time with this movie. I thought it was a fun movie. I really did like this movie.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the NBC. It's the second summer in a row they've released a movie that I had okay expectations for in terms of what it was going to be like in home end market. That really impressed me on how beautiful it was.
Yeah.
I was stunned by Super Mario Brothers. Like I did not see that. I was not prepared for that to be as good looking of a movie as it was, and I
Yeah.
think that film is a beautiful. I think the color levels are gorgeous, and I think they really looked great in this film too. Like as a story, as a narrative, sure. Like whatever happens, Despicable Me. But the set pieces are great,
Yeah.
right? We're going to steal what are they stealing? A raccoon or a dog?
Yeah.
I'm trying to.
Some kind
I
of
can see it
animal.
in my.
It's
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
mascot.
yeah. Wonderful. I love a cartoon heist, and it's a great throwback to the first film when stealing the shrink ray was one of the scenes that I go back to and remember in the first Despicable Me all
Yeah.
day long. They really understand how to pull those big comic beats out of a movie, so I definitely enjoyed this one too.
Yeah. I think when I saw it, sometimes cartoons, animation, they'll add a little bit of film grain to it. I
Sure.
think, if I remember correctly, I think there is a little bit they might have added to this one because I watched Inside Out 2 and then I watched this right after. I was like, oh, not quite as crisp as Inside Out 2. So I think they added just a tiny bit of grain in this.
Yeah, I think it's still beautiful though. I think a great color level.
Yeah.
Inside Out 2, Webby, we'll talk about that in a second, but it's
Yeah.
I mean that one is that's that it is it's always an unfair compare. I think that movie is particularly beautiful.
Audio wise for this one, like I mentioned earlier, that even though this does say Dolby Atmos, guys, if you're interested in picking this up, maybe because I saw it on iTunes, maybe it's different. Typically, it's not different, but maybe this was different. There was like no Atmos in this. There's like zero height channel activity. If there was, I totally missed it. It might have been for a split second or something, maybe. But I was like, I had my display in front of me, looking at watching the movie at the same time. I was like, when is there something that's gonna float up in the air or just something? I didn't see anything. So that's the reason why I didn't review it because the Atmos just didn't do anything. So I skipped it for that reason alone. Although it was an enjoyable movie. So if you're looking at a technical standpoint, the Atmos just kind of sucked. It did suck. I'd give it a 1. I'd give it a 0. If I'm gonna rate this Atmos mix, 0 because there was none.
Well, save the zero for a broken audio. It's a 1. It's not where you want it to be. I did not. Unfortunately, I can't weigh in because I did not get to watch it in an Atmos environment when I was watching it. So as in many cases, I'm trusting Shane's ears on this particular one as it comes out.
Well, one thing that did have good audio was Inside Out 2. A solid entry. This comes in at 52.8 gigs for Dolby Vision and then 58.6 gigs for HDR10. It is $30. This is a this is a Disney release, and if you're thinking that Disney always gimps their audio, this is a big departure. This is a legitimately good Atmos mix with objects that float around in the air. It used all 18 of my speakers multiple times during the movie rather than being locked into 7.1.2. This one actually picked it up, man. The audio was really good in this. Not quite as good as Inside Out 1, but a close second. Good bass, good space, good detail everywhere as far as the Atmos mix is concerned. And as we had alluded to earlier, visually, this is one great looking animated movie. It's crispy, it's sharp, the colors pop. It's about as good as it gets for animation, I think. So it's a solid video transfer. And the movie also, as well, if you get your heartstrings tugged on the first movie, you might find yourself choking up a little bit in this one too, especially if you have kids. Luke, do you have any kids?
I have no kids, and
Okay.
just nieces and nephews who I love with all my heart. Shout out to Lucy; it's her birthday. What's up, Lucy?
Hey, happy
Uh,
birthday.
but but I was crying all day during this movie anyway. It didn't matter. As
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a soft target. I'll cry all the time. I cried during Longlegs. But this was these were bigger tears. These were more heartfelt tears that were spilled during Inside Out too.
Yeah.
Pixar's been expanding their portfolio. They've been gathering some of the artists giving them their first shot, and there's been some movies that were, I think, really good and really creative, and they took some broad risks with them as they came out, but they haven't had a really big home run in a while. And this was, I mean, it's the biggest movie of the year right now. I don't know that
Yeah.
anything's going to catch it. It's
Is
it's
it
it's
did it beat
over
the
it's over $1 billion internationally.
Yeah?
Just
Uh,
internationally, it's over a billion, which means it's like 1.7 total, I think, on Box Office Mojo right now.
oh,
So
okay. So it's
it.
above Deadpool.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's and it will and that's not surprising because families and repeat viewership. Deadpool's getting a lot of repeat viewership, but its rating is always going to be a handicap on the number of people that can go see it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, this was the movie is extraordinarily well written. I think they had a wonderful concept that they brought in to get introduced, and they executed it extremely well. It can't go without comment. They did swap out a couple of voice casts,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
I did notice. I was hoping to report that I didn't notice when I watched it, but I did. But it didn't matter because the writing's so good. Amy Poehler is always so
Yep.
spectacular. That this was one of the highlights of the year. It's a definitely go by for me.
Yeah, 100%. Surprisingly, for such a popular movie, I thought I would have gotten more views on the review. I was like, guys, this is like the number one movie this year. I was like, where's? I got way more views on Twisters than I did on this one.
Yeah,
So I guess
but I
home
think that
theater guys.
I think they think that there's a ceiling for an animated film. Do you know what I mean? I think there's only so good that it can be.
Yeah,
I think
I
I think
guess.
I think that's the perspective that it's not given the same treatment that the actioneers are.
Yeah, it sucks. It's a good. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
One thing that I was a little disappointed in was I'm surprised that this didn't get an Atmos mix. I felt like it should have had one. This is Harold and the Purple Crayon. Another family friendly movie. This is 51.8 gigs Dolby Vision, 48 gigs for the HDR10, only $20. Great looking movie. I will say that. So if you want something colorful for your displays, there's a lot of purple in it for sure. Good looking movie. Yeah. No Atmos mix. I don't know why there's no Atmos mix in this. It's
Yeah, it's
surprising.
unusual for Sony. Sony is very
Yeah.
aggressive about adding Atmos mixes. I think this one is this was a this one was a came to us pretty quickly on its turn. It's a a huge children's story. I think this one's
Yeah.
been in development for a long time. I'm glad it finally got out so that people could get to see it. It's a fun film. It's a fun family movie.
Yeah, there's like I guess there's a reason it came out so quickly because it was an okay movie. It wasn't like I would put it right there with If. Like If was okay too. It wasn't like great, but it was all right for a family flick, I guess.
Yeah.
M- Maybe because maybe they changed from the original stories so much. Like I don't know. I've never heard of Harold and the Purple Crayon, so I don't know.
Oh, yeah. No, I grew up with Harold, so
Yeah,
it was an interesting. It's an interesting choice to have Zach Levy. I can't remember which
uh,
one it is.
yeah, Levi,
To have him come in,
Levi.
I thought he was good. He brought a lot of that similar. I mean, I think this had a lot of echoes of Shazam. He brings a
Yeah,
lot of childlike wonder into the part. This movie didn't connect with me personally, but
yeah,
I've heard some good things from some of the folks that have gone out and watched it.
yeah. It's a fun little movie. I wouldn't watch it again, but I didn't hate it the first time around.
100%.
Yeah, great movie though. It's a Sony transfer, so you know you're gonna get nice, sharp, clean, crispy picture. Another movie I watched was Fly Me to the Moon. This one I didn't anticipate watching this, but I watched it anyways. This is a big movie too. 76 gigs for the Dolby Vision, 70 gigs for HDR10, $30. Good looking movie. Not like super crispy. I think there's a little bit of grain in this, if I recall correctly. I thought this was a true story. Then I had to Google it, and clearly it's a fictional story.
They did their job if they got you googling. That's always that's always a good job by them.
um, Good looking movie. The Atmos was surprisingly busy. Good mix as well. Great visuals. The movie was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
For a fictional tale, is a good movie. It's kind of like what Tarantino does in his movies. He takes history and changes them. This is kind of the same idea.
Give it a little tweak. I yeah,
Yeah,
I think I think Channing Tatum's underrated. I think he's a fun comic actor, and I think he just hasn't necessarily found all the right parts for himself. And I thought he was very good in this movie. Um, I think the supporting cast was particularly strong in this film. I think it's just one of these movies that really well cast, really good script. You're never going to regret watching this movie. This is like a very fun movie. I don't know that I've got any demo beats that I remember from the entire
yeah,
course of the film. I think but like you want to sit down and have date night. This is a movie that will keep everybody entertained,
yeah.
and it has like very positive energy around it. Really, a big fan of this film. Big fan of this film.
And last Sunday, I went to go see Blink Twice, also starring Channing Tatum. He's actually really good in that movie.
He's very
Very
good
good
in
in that
that
movie.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you happen to see that already?
I have not because but I do anticipate that the assets will be in, so I will have an opportunity to see that in the near future.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to come very soon. Smaller movie. I believe it's his girlfriend's first directorial debut, and she did a pretty good job on it. It's kind of you've seen it done before. You've seen movies like that before, but
Sure.
it's a
So
good
like,
movie though.
what's it a movie that it was like for you? Like, is this like the like Enough, the Jennifer Lopez like escape abuse movie, or is this like one of these sort of like a Gaslight kind of film? Like, what's the
Mm,
energy in it?
what's that food movie with Ray Fiennes and Nicholas Holt? You know what I'm
Oh,
talking about?
yeah.
They kind of go to an island and then they have
Yeah, yeah,
to,
yeah.
get off the island.
Yeah,
Basically, that's what it is. They're on an island. They got to get off the island. That's what it is. You've seen many movies like that.
got it. All right.
Same same
I'm
concept.
excited for that. I'm excited for that then.
Yeah. What's the twist? There's no. I don't want to give it away. I wish I saw it because I was kind of like pissed off at the end. I was like, yo, why? Well, you'll see it. You'll see it.
I'll see it.
Yeah, you'll see it. We'll talk about it maybe another next month. I'm sure it'll be out next month. Next movie here, Kinds of Kindness. This also interesting movie as well. If you guys had seen Pretty Things, same director, same quirky artistic movie. this is a big one. Wow, I didn't realize it was 100 gigs. Look at that, 100 gigs for Dolby Vision, 91 gigs for HDR10. Very big movie. 25 bucks, not a bad price. Good looking movie. It's got the shot on film, nice colors, uh, interesting ideas in the movie for sure. You are a bigger fan of it than I was. Like I said, the visuals were great. The audio was also not too crazy, but there was some decent atmospherics in this movie,
Mm.
along with some of the musical choices as well. And just as a movie overall, I guess you gotta be in the mood. You gotta be in the mood for this movie.
It's a strange movie. I think that
Yeah,
I think that you have to prepare people before they go in. It's a triptych. They people keep throwing that word up when they talk about it. It's three small stories that are
yeah,
interconnected, that are kind of trying to give people a different way to approach, you know, what kindness means in people's lives as a broad concept, but in execution, it's a very unusual story. Yeah, I absolutely love Yorgos. I've loved all of his movies that I've seen. I loved Pretty Things. I thought that was a great film. I think The Favorite's a peak. That's, I think, his most accessible film that he brought in to the field. This one, he's become so famous that I think you can see there in the score is 72% over on the critic side, and the audience has had a little bit more of a struggle with it. It's a it
yeah,
it is a challenging movie, and so I think you want to be braced for that. And I think
yeah.
because Emma Stone's in it and Jesse Plemons in it, he's always great. Willem Dafoe, really good in the movie. That you get these big stars, and they come into a movie like this, and you're expecting a big star movie, and you get a movie that's much more artistic in its aims and endeavors. So I still highly recommend the movie, but with the caveat, be ready to go. Like, you're settling in for an art house movie. You know what I mean? Don't bring out the Twizzlers for that one. Get yourself a glass of wine, settle up.
Emma Stone is not a detective in this movie. Just from looking at the trailers really quick, I thought this was going to be like detective movie or something like that. So that's two movies where I didn't really watch trailers and I went into it thinking they were both something else. So
That is a It's always good. It's going to be a left turn. At what point in the movie did you course correct on this one?
when the liver came out, the kidney came out, I was like, it's different. It's something
There's
else.
no The detective doesn't have to solve this crime. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
And then we're going to move on to probably one of the most underrated movies on this list. Borderlands. This one came out of 58.5 gigs for Dolby Vision, 53.7 for HDR10, and only 30 bucks to own this future classic. I saw this at the movies about 3 weeks ago. Then it popped up on the Kaleidescape. I was like, you know what? I didn't hate it. I'm going to review it, and I'm sure it's going to look just as good as a theater. And it did. And I'm
Nice.
sure it's going to sound just as good as a theater. And I think it sounds a little bit better than the theater. Like I said, it's a colorful, it's based on the video game. I've never played the game, but I'm assuming it's just as colorful as what the movie looks like. Is it a little bit like a knockoff of Guardians of the Galaxy? I guess so, in some ways. The color palette is very similar to Guardians, so if you like the
Mm,
look of the Guardians, actually, this is a little bit cleaner than the Guardians because I believe this was shot digitally, 6.5K if I'm not mistaken, and it
mm.
looks like it's a very, very clean digital, clinically clean looking movie. So that should be good for the 4K guys out there. You'll like the way it looks, and the audio was like busy from start to finish. It was like always something going on in the heights and the surround speakers. So just overall really good demo material, I think, for your home theaters if we're just going
100%.
from a technical standpoint. Yeah. From an enjoyability standpoint, I know people have been crapping on this movie ever since it was announced. I think it was I read an article where the stunt guys were like, yeah, it was supposed to be a hard R because Eli Roth, he's a horror guy. So there were supposed to be like some chopped off limbs and heads and, ankles and stuff like that. And I guess they switched it and made it PG-13. So it's not as gruesome. I mean, there's still some pretty good kills in it, but still, I didn't hate it. It's not the worst movie I saw this year. We'll get to that movie in a little bit here. Not the worst movie I've seen, but I thought it was okay. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun movie. I
Yeah.
watched it 3 times already, so I didn't dislike it. What do you think?
So I'll say a couple of things. You can't. It's impossible to talk about this movie in a vacuum from the amount of poor press that it's received
Yeah,
critically and from the early home viewers. Um, so the first thing that I'll say is I think people should definitely read those reviews just because they're very funny. That's what happens periodically when people hate a movie. They'll do that, and also they will prepare you if you've got the movie on your queue to be surprised at how much you enjoy the movie. It's not that bad. It's a
yeah,
very fun movie. It's a Saturday afternoon movie. I think it had ambitions to be something bigger, but it's punchy. I don't think more decapitations would have cured what ills the film as it's here. But I think it's a lot of fun. It's very engaging, and it looks really good. So I think
yeah,
for like a Saturday afternoon push that you're watching on this movie, definitely worth the ticket as it comes in. Um, I I didn't understand Borderlands was a game I played. I didn't conceive it as being a film. It's not necessarily cinematic in that particular way. So I think those question marks persisted. But they built a really interesting framing story that I think carried you from the beginning to the end with some very strange characters that they put together.
yeah. Kate Blanchett, forever looking young. She doesn't look 20 years old, but she's looking good in this movie. I tell you what.
She's doing a great job. She's doing a great
Yeah.
job. Kevin Hart, the hardest working man in all of Hollywood. Jamie Lee Curtis also keeps working. We're proud to see her out there everywhere
Hmm.
that she can be. Yeah. So
And Kevin Hart is trying to be an action star because he didn't tell hardly any. I don't think he told maybe like one joke in this movie. He was pretty much a straight guy.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
he's trying that out. I think he does it. This is sort of him. Central Intelligence. He also plays more straight, the reactive straight, I think, as he's doing what's in that first of his rock pictures. So I'll be
yeah,
curious to see if what they pull up. You're right. I do like when Eli Roth does a non horror movie. I like his visual style. I like seeing how he interprets some of the shots. I enjoyed The House with Clocks in the Walls, which was one of the
hmm,
earlier films that he did that was
yep,
pretty fun. But that horror is obviously his true milieu.
yeah.
That's where he grew successful. It's I think the stuff that he really loves.
House with the Clocks in the Walls, also great Atmos demo as well. That's one
Yeah.
of my favorite ones, if I do remember. Let's talk about this one really quick too. This was not really on my radar, but I saw Joseph Gordon-Levitt was in it, and I had to pick it up because I like the guy. This is called Greedy People. Comes in at 57.7 gigs for HDR10, 57.2 gigs for HD or SDR 4K, and only $20. If you're looking for a movie just to watch and enjoy, this is a fun movie. Surprisingly good, fun movie.
I and this is a sneaky one.
Yeah.
This was a not a direct to video, but it was a very limited theatrical release, which means I think a lot of the folks that might come, the only way that they're going to have ever had access to it was digitally to be able to pull it at home. Uh, I think it's one of those nice cast. I love Hamish Patel. Really
Mhm.
good, simple crime story, just kind of executed well and done well.
Yeah. 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 Crime Caper. And good looking movie as well. It's not an Atmos, but it does, it's in 4K. It's a good looking, it's like a, not special really, but it's a good looking movie. It's worth it. It's worth the $20 just to pick up if you want something to watch.
Well, it's always great to kind of we should try and catch some of these every time that we can because there's not as many theatricals that are dropping right
Yeah.
now. There are more and more movies I think that are winding their way directly either onto a streaming service or coming out into digital. And so anytime we can kind of highlight one of those that there was not the marketing push of a movie that was going big theatrically, we're always happy to point those out.
Yeah. Yeah. Good one. Pick it up for sure. And then the next one here, I saw this at the theater not long ago either, like 2 weeks ago. a week and a half ago. This is Trap by M. Night Shyamalan. This comes in at 59.4 gigs Dolby Vision, 59.2 for HDR10, only $40. Is this a Warner Brothers movie? It is Warner Brothers.
WB.
Yeah, yeah. You see $39.99, you know it's WB. This one, this is okay movie. You know, not one of his best ones, but I mean, they gave the twist away like right at the beginning. It's like the whole movie. You know, it's not really a twist, I guess. So this was actually based on like a true story, where I guess what the feds wanted to get a lot of criminals that had escaped prison or something like that to a convention, and what did they offer them, money or something? And then they all came.
Yeah.
They all came, and that's how they trapped them. But yeah, M. Night Shyamalan, I saw Dolby Vision. This is basically a showcase for his daughter's singing career, I felt, for a lot of half the movie. But as far as enjoyability standpoint, it's a good movie. Yeah, I feel like we've seen it before, but it's good. It's watchable. I love the performance from Hartnett. I feel he's been making a renaissance comeback, and he's good in it. Who else is in this movie that's good? I guess a little daughter.
His daughter's fine. It's
Yeah.
you know, he's the movie.
Yeah.
If he's not good, the movie's not good. And to me, he's good. He's very good. I think he's playing he's playing our sneaky bad guy, and he's doing an elaborate game of cat and mouse. And I love a cat and mouse movie.
Mhm.
I thought Shyamalan shot the heck out of this movie. I'm not here to push the music. The music was not for me. As that part of the story was together, but I thought it was a really, really fun, really, really well executed thriller.
Yeah. Good one. Yeah, I really liked his performance in this one. I was just trying to think of some of his choices he made towards the end of the movie. I was like, did you really think this was going to work?
So you weren't necessarily satisfied with how they untied the knot. I think that's that this is always the problem with the big thriller. You know, when you do a big prestige reveal at the end, and sometimes you can see some of the strings and you don't necessarily connect with it in the same way. I liked it. I think I saw all the turns coming, but I enjoyed them. I was happy to. I was happy to have a couple of small evasions to keep me engaged in the film.
Let's wrap this up in the probably the best movie I've seen this year. Let me see. Oh, dude, you guys took it out of the new release section. Oh no, here it is. Oh my god, dude! I blame you for making me watch this one. So this is Horizon, starring Kevin Costner. This is a big movie too. I mean, I don't know is this going to be a two-parter on 4K disc, or they're really going to shrink it down. But this is 104 gigs on Dolby Vision, 99.4 gigs HDR10. You know, this is one of those other rare movies that's going to be bigger than their disc counterpart. I don't know why, honestly. This movie, how many minutes is this movie? This movie's 3 hours and 1 minute long.
Yep.
It felt every bit of 3 hours long. This was like Lonesome Dove in film form. I guess if you're a Lonesome Dove fan, you might.
That's high praise, Shane. Shane, I can't. I would not give it that level. I enjoyed the movie. I would not praise it by calling it Lonesome Dove. Lonesome Dove is phenomenal.
Is it?
Oh yeah, Lonesome Dove is wonderful.
Gosh, this was a freaking chore to get through. My buddy came down from Missouri for the week, and I was showing him the new theater that I built, and we were going through Kaleidescape. He's seen like everything I saw. Then I was like, you know what? I said, look at the Kaleidescape, but guy said Horizon's pretty good. He was like, really? I was like, wait. I was like, yeah. Costner always does good westerns. Let's get into it. He doesn't show up till an hour into the movie.
You need to watch. You need to watch the tape. You need to watch the tape because you need to go back and listen to exactly what I said in my recommendation about this movie.
You said it's a beautiful looking movie.
It is a beautiful looking movie. You cannot deny that. The vistas in this film are worth the price of admission alone. I mean, it's.
I don't know about that, but
have you watched a lot of old westerns, Shane?
I have watched some westerns that were equally as nice looking and also equally as enjoyable to look at.
I think that this is an epic western. It's in it's in the vein um of a big Rio Bravo or Stagecoach, like these films that are big and sweeping, and I think
Yeah,
want to carry
I
you along.
you
I
get
think
you definitely felt you can definitely feel what he's going for.
a
He just
hundred
wasn't
percent.
successful at it.
I you are not as engaged with the individual character interactions, with which I think, which I think this movie did not connect at the box office, which is why we're not watching the second part of it right now. The original, I think the original announcement plan was going to be that we were already going to have had part two coming out here at around this time this year, and I think that one is not yet scheduled for release. So
Hmm.
I'm excited to see where part two comes in. I hope we get the part two soon. I hope it comes directly to Kaleidescape only. That I'd be happy with that. Just put that up on our
Yeah,
platform right away. Um, because it's a big major narrative. I think he's got a lot of great cast. I think the problem with a movie that's 3 hours long. There's a lot of story. There's a lot of story, and it's not. I think he wanted to make a lot of those older films that's very trope based, and I think he did some of that, but not to the same extent that you see in some of those older films. So it's I agree. I think it's not necessarily as involving in the characters, but
it's
I think visually it's a beautiful film, uh, and uh, and I think some of the set pieces are great.
if he took the movie, chopped it up into like 16 parts, made an episodic television show of it, I could see people being more interested in it because this felt like a very long season of TV, and it was just boring. Me and my buddy were just like, when is this picking up? It didn't pick up until Kevin Costner came in. His story was
Sure,
good. We
his
like
story,
his
right,
part. Yeah.
right,
Everything else, I think there's like three or four different stories in this,
yeah.
and they were
There's the
God.
Costner, the mom and her daughter,
Mm,
the raiding camp that's taking revenge. There's a couple of those are some three of the big beats I think that are carrying it through.
yeah. I was just waiting. We're like, when is this gonna tie together? I said, this got to tie in somewhere towards the end of the movie, and like never does. And we get the big montage at the end for, I guess, for part two. I mean, this is like a 5 minute montage for like the second. It's like a 5 minute montage. We're like, what's going on at the end of this movie?
Y- Yeah, there's definitely a big brain sweeping that has a vision for somebody that's going to one day sit down and watch 9 hours of Horizon movies back to back to back, and I think that was his tag in order to kind of set up the next film.
just keep it his movie with his little story because that was good. And then it like wrapped up really quick. We're like, oh no. I was like, what are we moving on to a different story? And it was just as boring as the first one. Oh my gosh. This was like we were sitting there, we had a couple beers in us. We're like, this is gonna be a badass Kevin Costner Western. It's gonna be
No,
like
sir.
Wyatt Earp or whatever he was.
No, no, no. This is
Nope.
this is an epic western. An epic western is
God.
it's not following the action. It's following the stories, and it wants to give us lots of stories.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
the
guess so.
the big raid, surviving the raid. You didn't enjoy that with the big the violent confrontation that was out on the reservoir where they set everything aflame and the people are
Oh
fighting for their
yeah.
lives. I thought that
No, that
was,
was boring too. No, that was boring.
well, no, but this is an interesting note. I loved it. I was watching. I thought it was visually really engaging. But a scene like that, the struggle is going to be if you don't care about the characters, then you don't care that they've set everything in their lives on fire. And so if you don't have that original buy-in, maybe the story maybe it needed to be 4 hours. Shane, maybe we needed a 1 hour introduction with those people, so that you would have been more invested by the
you
time
know,
their village was set on
you
fire.
know, what really pissed me off was like the family where the husband and the son go out to shoot the Indians. They die. The mom and the daughter get stuck in the house. They get dug out of the house.
Okay, well, just pause. Spoiler alert to anybody that's watching that
Guys,
wants to pause the podcast
it's a
so that they can
western.
go. Yeah, sure, sure. Tropes to
It's a
follow.
western.
Yeah.
The Mountie digs her out of the dirt. I feel like a week later she's falling in love with this guy.
Yeah.
We're like, yeah, what is going on? Are you not gonna mourn your husband? Are you
Hey,
falling in? Are you dating this guy already?
hey, this is the old west. The survival instincts kicked in.
Oh my gosh.
You need to get a family. The family's the only way you're going to survive. You got to keep familying up. You got to keep building a new keep fighting, find somebody new and move on.
Everything was boring up until that part. We're like, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. He's like, hold on, is she dating this guy now? And we got interested all of a sudden. We were like, I can't believe she's dating this guy.
Yeah. I I will just shout out one visual effect because I'm sure Kevin Costner, who's not a good friend of mine, but I call me Kev. I did really enjoy the even though it was is anticipated effect, it felt like a throwback to the old films when he had the telescope scenes where it would cut in for the broad vistas with the inversion through the telescope line. I thought that was a lot of fun. Just a nice little piece of the film line. And again, for me, a lot of this, I think it's a particularly beautiful film. I think it's a really gorgeous
Yeah, they're pretty fun.
tour of those big, huge planes.
You know what happens when you're out on a picnic or something and you're looking out over the mountains, you just kind of relax and you totally drift off and fall asleep because it's all peaceful and there's nothing going on. Same thing in this movie. Beautiful to look at, and you'll just drift off because there's nothing going on.
That's right. It's gonna be a fun one to compare to go pull up a couple of other Western epics, put them into your life, and then you can kind of do some side by sides.
But waiting for Tombstone. That's gonna be a good one if that ever comes out.
Oh, when they do the 4K remaster.
Yeah, one of my favorite westerns. If you want to watch good western, that's not 4K. Tombstone, 310 to Yuma is a pretty good one too.
310 to Yuma isn't 4K.
Oh yeah. I have it on
Yeah.
the Kaleidescape. Yeah, I'm just saying, just to watch it. But that's it for the August. Best 4Ks. Not counting Horizon. Don't pick that one. All the other ones, definitely worth it. 100%. Even Borderlands is worth it.
All right. I'll also I'll shout out because an inadvertent plug on Shane's part, so I'll just reinforce it. Go pick up Lonesome Dove. Just a wonderful old Western TV series. Truly wonderful performances.
Is that on Kaleidescape?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
Robert Duvall, one of the great actors of our time, my friend. He's if Robert Duvall's in the movie, it's hard for the movie to be bad.
What am I thinking? Not Lonesome. What's the TV show? Dynasty? Dynasty's like TV. Yeah. Isn't that a Western? No,
Dynasty
that's
is
not
not a
Western.
Western.
I'm thinking of some other Western.
Yellowstone?
No, like one of those old ones.
Oh,
old
like
Western TV show.
like Gunsmoke or Ponderosa.
No, because that's good too. No, that's good too. Is there anything new coming out of Cedia that was announced that we don't know about?
There were no announcements at Cedia. Everything, I think, dropped before it came in. A lot of the stuff that we're featuring in our booth involves the Strato V player, which I think I talked about last time, but I'm still excited to talk about again. Incredible, great gateway for folks to get right in because it can be a standalone that holds 10 films. And then when you're ready to go be a big man like Shane and have a super library, you can get some big storage and you can turn it into a player and start to get your entire library, just a vast array of films at your fingertip that can always be available to you.
And you guys came with the 128 3 gig?
123, the 123 solid state server. And I had a specialty client that I was getting everything loaded for. So we just had a big install of a whole new system. It's just full of solid states. So we're really excited to see those out in the field. Yeah. Super responsive, unbelievable download times in order to get all the content brought down to the system before we shipped it out. And knock on surface, we're going to continue to see more people that are able to plug in and then continue to enjoy having great home theater experiences through the Kaleidescape system with these new products that are coming to the field.
Yes, indeed. Well, all right. Thank you, Luke, for joining us again this month. Hopefully, next month we'll be on time.
Well, look, as long as Josh is around in order to put the right time on my schedule, I'll be here with bells on. I appreciate everybody coming in, and thanks so much, Shane. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, man. Thanks, guys, for watching.